will I cry? Will I leave behind broken and crumbled signs, hiding all my roads to you? And if I fight, will I come to life, calling for all your light, giving all my heart to you? And I've been falling, I've been lost, and I've been calling on my ghosts.
Well, this is it, guys. 4 weeks, and now coming home.
And I've been carried, I've been dragged.
I just can't believe it's gone so fast. We've done so much, experienced so much. I'll probably do another vlog later on about a conclusion, a bit of a wrap up. But it's, you know, I'm a bit tired now. It's just gone 6 AM. As you can tell, I can't really function properly. I can't even remember how long it takes to get to Beijing. And overall, I think the whole flight time was about 15 hours. So.
And I will fight. I will come to life, calling for all your lights, giving my light back to you. And I've been falling, I've been lost, and I've been calling on my ghosts. I put it to rest because I'm coming home, coming home. Oh, because I'm coming home, coming home. I'm coming home.
So it's been 5 months since we've come back from the Philippines, and oh my god, what a trip we had. I feel like there was still so much that we wanted to do, but we just didn't have the time to do it. And also, because of the route that we took, we tried to maximize the time in each location. So if we wanted to, I know one of the things I really wanted to go and do was visit Camougahay Island, and to get to Camougahay from where we started, it would have mean we would have lost 2 days just for traveling, just to get there. So I think that given the time that we had, for a first time visiting the islands, doing a bunch of activities, I think we made the most of what we did. I think that we made a pretty good lasting impression on both of us. So today I'm going to give you my top 10 highlights of our trip. Number 1, island hopping in Coron and El Nido. Now, bit of a cheat. It is 2 separate locations, 2 different days, but encompassing the same kind of thing. Boat trip, islands, what could be better? Having the views that we did were just absolutely breathtaking, and it's scenery like that you don't really get in many places in the world, so I really tried to take it in as much as I could. Sort of the limestone cliffs, the crystal clear water, and oh, what a day that was. And the sand. We went onto a private island that was owned by someone who I think runs the company that we went on the tour with, and that was lovely to have to ourselves. There was only like 4 of us plus some of the crew. Powdery white sand. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and the weather held up as well, which was great. Number 2, canyoneering in Badian. Now this is something I've seen on YouTube when we were looking at things to do in the Philippines, and of course I had to give it a go. It looked like so much fun, very adventurous, and yeah, but the only thing I have a problem with is heights. But not so much the height, but the drop. I can, you know, take me to the top of the Empire State Building and I can look over the edge, no problem. You ask me to jump off it, that'll be a different story. I'm not a big fan of falling, so for me to push myself to jump off these ledges was a bit of a big thing. The ledges themselves weren't ridiculously high, just a little more out of my comfort zone that I would normally like, but you live the moment and you do it. Didn't do the last one, that was one of mine that I didn't do, but I did do a lot of them leading up to it, so I'm quite proud of myself, and we had a great time, got soaked. It's probably one of the coolest days we had because we were so obviously wet all day, we were fresh from the water, so one of the nicest days that we had. It's quite tiring, but it was really good fun. Number 3, the Chocolate Hills. And this kind of ties in with the Chocolate Hills Adventure Park as well, because that day itself was really great. We started off on an ATV and we went through some of the off-road paths around the Chocolate Hills. My advice, I wouldn't bother with that. I wouldn't do that again. Not only do you get thrown around in the ATV, which is kind of fun, but you don't really see much of the Chocolate Hills because you're so low down, and if you've got a hill either side of you, that's great, but you can't see beyond that. So the best place to be is high, good vantage point, and once we found sort of the steps leading up to the viewing platform, and the car park itself actually has some great views overlooking the Chocolate Hills as well. I think that's probably the best place for it, and I really liked seeing. I was just fascinated by how they were created and just the different textures you get across the landscape. So I really enjoyed that. Number 4, firefly watching. Now, to you guys, from reading the comments, fireflies are pretty normal to see, but for me, we've never really seen fireflies. We've seen them in movies, but it's one of those things where you go, now, are they real? Are they just a myth that it's just created for the film? You know, just like a kind of, to make something look more romantic, they just add these fireflies in. I didn't know they would light up so much. I thought that was kind of like a film thing to do, maybe. So I was completely fascinated when we took this boat trip and just saw these lights flickering in the darkness, and that was incredible. It's really, really difficult to pick up on the camera. I think I did an okay job, but what my eyes saw to what you guys saw on the camera are very different. And my eyes, oh my god, they were just lit up with this beautiful dance of fireflies. Another favourite of my days was Camougahay Falls. Now this is because it was completely unplanned before we went to the Philippines. We didn't even know it was there. We only saw signs for it as we were passing through the east side of Siquijor, and I thought, should we go there? Yeah, let's do that. And we went off, rode our bikes there, and yeah, as I say, completely unplanned, so I had my expectations, I just didn't have any. And we arrived there, and wow, what beautiful falls these were. It wasn't a large place, it wasn't even that busy considering, unless it's because of the time of day we went, maybe not being a weekend maybe helped, I don't know. But it certainly felt very relaxing, again very refreshing. On the subject of feeling refreshed and wet, we move on now to Apo Island, another one of my highlights of the trip, being so close. In fact, too close sometimes when the turtles come right up to you. Seeing them in their natural habitat, just wandering around like that, was incredible. I did see some sea turtles when I went on my honeymoon to the Maldives, but they were still quite a distance away. And these guys, wow, they got so close and they were so big as well. I was really surprised at how many there were and how close they were getting to people, and you know, how shallow the water was. I mean, you know, you couldn't touch the bottom, but considering that you're just in the sea, that, you know, they're right in the shallow with the corals and everything, it was beautiful, beautiful. And you know, you could have spent all day there really. We left about lunchtime because I think it got a bit busy, people coming in, and they start crowding around the turtles. So it kind of felt a little bit like it lost its intimacy a little bit. But we very much enjoyed our time in Apo Island, and again, I'd recommend going there too. Our next highlight of the trip was the whale sharks in Oslo. We missed out, again going back to my honeymoon story, we did a couple of boat trips out there to spot whale sharks, and unfortunately we didn't see any either time. So when this opportunity came that we could almost be guaranteed to see some in Oslo, we jumped at the chance. There was no way we would travel all that distance and not try at least to see whale sharks. It would be insane. So we jumped in a boat and off we rode up in, you know, it wasn't even that far out, which that really surprised me, how close you are to the shore where you stop and look at whale sharks. But I presume the ground just sort of, you know, you got the beach and then it sort of drops off so sudden, because it didn't seem that far out. I'm not a strong swimmer, but even I think I could have swam that distance, you know. But yeah, seeing these majestic beasts, oh my god, incredible creatures, so big, and they make you feel dwarfed by their size. There were a few issues regarding other tourists. I find some of them got a bit nervous and started flapping their arms around. And sometimes when they flap their arms around, they do catch you sometimes. It's not that great. So the way I approach it is this, and it actually happened to me. When you jump out of the boat, it's one of these boats, it's a banker. Now see how you have these little, I don't know, a lot of people hold on to those and just look at the sharks, which is great. But if you can't really go further back because the boat is actually there, and a shark was coming right towards me, and I couldn't go back, but I didn't panic, remained still, calm, and it was just me and this shark, and that was a moment that I really, really enjoyed. But also, of course, I really enjoyed the other moments as well, where they're swimming past you and you can see them underneath you and to the side of you. It is very touristy. It can be a little bit of mayhem when you arrive on the beach and stuff. There's a lot of people, a lot of tour boats. I do think there could be a better way of doing the tours. I don't know what that is, but I think it could be done better. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy it. As I've said, it's one of my highlights. It's a moment that will always last with me. So I suppose another highlight of my trip is the wildlife. I've never seen wildlife like this anywhere in the world, and there are some that are specific to the Philippines. There are some that just roam about, whereas in other parts of the world perhaps they would be in a nature park, in a zoo, or just so far out in the wild that you'd never go and visit. And that comes back down to the underground river in Palawan. Then we saw monkeys, we saw lizards, obviously whale sharks, we had the beautiful birds, the tarsiers, which, to be fair, they were in a sanctuary, but still, you know, native to Bohol. Either way, the wildlife in the Philippines is incredible. And to me, that actually makes it quite special as well, because it, you know, the Philippines has given me such a wonderful experience, and now it's presenting me the wildlife as well, which is nice. Heading back into the city now, one of my next memorable moments is Jona. Before the trip, I made it publicly known that I really wanted to meet Jona, and thankfully Jona reached out to me, and over the course of the months leading up to the trip, I was in touch with the management, and we organised a date that I was able to visit Jona. And it was still touch and go, even down to the day itself. I was waiting for something to go wrong, and I was so thankful that nothing did. So the day started off that we'd be picked up outside the pet store, outside SM Mega Mall. We would then drive to Jona's rehearsal for the gig that she was performing at. I don't know when that gig actually was. I think it was like a week late or something, maybe a little less. And then from there, she was going to the recording studio to record Kahit Kailan, and then we were going to go out for some dinner. Given that we were going to the recording studio anyway, I put in a request, again before my trip, to see whether it was possible to sing a duet with Jona, given that we were going there anyway. On the day that we was even in the recording studio, and I said to Jona, have they mentioned to you about my request? And she said, yeah, it's fine, we're doing that. And I was like, wow, we're actually going to be doing this. I was very nervous, as you can imagine. Not only can I not sing very well, I'm also in the presence of Jona, which was already going to be nerve-wracking as it was, and then her management and the crew at the studio, and it was very overwhelming. But again, it probably is the highlight of the whole trip. I mean, it's not every day you get to do any of those things, so for me, that will always be a special treasure for me. And finally, the last point on my top 10 highlights is the people. Everywhere we went, we were met with smiles, we were met with wonderful hospitality. There was the family who guided me and Rach to the zip line in El Nido, and their child, probably about 8 years old, taking us on this really long walk. I was almost convinced we were going to die. It was so hot that day. We were going down all these back streets and God knows where we were going, and I was like, we're going to die. And he finally took us to the zipline place, and you know, I gave him a coin for helping us. There were people at the places that we were staying in who would go out of their way to call up companies regarding tours, people who would be sorting out food for us. But everywhere we went, there was somebody willing to do something for us. Obviously, we stick out like a sore thumb. We're very westernized, so to walk into a place full of Filipinos, we stand out. So when people come up to us, all they want to do is help. They all want to do something for us, and it was nice to be so welcomed into their homes, into their country, and into their hearts. Bit cheesy, that bit, I know, but it's true. We got chatting to a lot of people on the boat trips that we did. There's a couple on a bus transfer to the Underground River that we met, and you know, everyone we spoke to, they just were very kind and sincere. It makes you want to go back. So then, to summarize, I would say the Philippines is such a beautiful country, so much to offer, but you have to go and find it. You have to make the effort to travel around to all these different regions, to try all these different things, immerse yourself in the culture, try the foods, you know, become Filipino almost. You do that and you'll have an unforgettable experience. The people are amazing, as I've said, very hospitable, very caring, very sincere. The scenery is just paradise. There's and it's so diverse between Palawan and Bohol. You've got, you know, limestone cliffs and crystal clear water. In Bohol, you've got these man-made forests and these chocolate hills, and very different. And the wildlife, oh, there's so much to see, so much to do. And there's still things that I didn't get a chance to do, but I know that I'll definitely be back again.